So, are you thinking about moving to Delaware, but your understanding of the Delaware weather is a little bit cloudy? Well, the forecast is all sunny skies in this video as I go over exactly what the weather is like here in Delaware. And after watching, I can guarantee you'll know whether or not to bring your umbrella or bust out the swim trunks. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Brandon Windom and I help people buy and sell homes here in Delaware. I've lived here all my life, and on this channel, I go over exactly what it's like living here in Delaware. And if you're thinking of either buying or selling here in Delaware, I love to have a conversation to see if it made sense for us to potentially work together. So I'll leave my info on screen right now and again in the description below. But let's get back to the weather report. So first and foremost, Delaware is described by having a humid, temperate climate with 4 distinct seasons. What that means is overall the temperatures are pretty moderate, but when the seasons change, you're definitely going to know. So let's just go over some of the general stats about the weather here in Delaware. So the average temperature here in Delaware is about 55 degrees, and the normal range of temperatures range anywhere from 30 degrees to 90 degrees. Now, that's not to say that we don't get some extreme days where we'll have, freezing or snow, or in the summer we'll have hot, humid days that, potentially get over 100 degrees. But overall, just in general, it's what you would typically expect from the season. So it's overall pretty mild. So moving on to the annual rainfall here in Delaware, right now it's about 45 inches annually, and that ranks us number 16 in all of the US. But it's kind of expected with Delaware being right along the coast. But pro tip here, you're definitely going to want to bring your umbrella because as you see, it gets pretty wet here. Now let's talk about that other type of precipitation that everyone loves, and that's snow. Now in Delaware, we have an average snowfall of about 15 inches annually, and that ranks us number 31 in all of the US. So winter here in Delaware tends to start around December and run all the way into the middle of March. And on average, the coldest month is January. But to me personally, it feels like we get the coldest days in the year in February. So here in Delaware, when it comes to snow, it's kind of hit or miss. So some years we may have a very cold winter and we may get quite a bit of snow days and accumulation. And when that does happen, things tend to shut down for maybe a day or two, but Delaware's kind of used to it. So it's not a widespread, state of emergency, shut everything down. And some years we have a very mild winter where we don't see any snow at all, or if we do, it's just a light dusting maybe once or twice in the entire winter. But the most common scenario that usually happens almost every year is that with all the rain we get, that you combine that with the freezing temperatures, we usually get, the typical black ice, frozen power lines, and those freezing conditions that are a little bit more hazardous. But the one thing about the winter I can guarantee is whether it's snow or freezing conditions, crazy phenomenon will happen to where though people will mysteriously abandon all common sense and completely forget how to drive during the winter. Spring in Delaware tends to start late March, early April. It just kind of depends on what type of winter we had, because sometimes late March, it could be feeling like a nice fall day out, or it could be snow. But typically spring in Delaware spans from late March to May, and the temperatures usually range from about 52 degrees Fahrenheit up to 73 degrees Fahrenheit. And we also tend to get a good bit of rain in the spring. So, the saying runs true, April showers bring May flowers. Now, I know in different parts of the US, the springtime can signal the start of tornado season, but here in Delaware, it's very rare that we get a tornado, if any. And in that rare occasion we do get a tornado, it's usually very weak, it's not very widespread, and it's isolated to a specific area. So it's not something people in Delaware tend to worry about too much. Now, everyone's favorite month, summer in Delaware, kind of starts in June, and sometimes it feels like it can last up until early September. Now, the average summer temperatures here in Delaware usually range from about 77 degrees all the way up to 94 degrees. But honestly, those temperatures can tend to feel a little bit hotter, especially here in Delaware, because the humidity is very high here. On average, our average humidity rating is about 78%. And with that ranks us number 32 overall in the US. Now, if you're used to somewhere with a lot of dry heat, that can definitely take a lot of getting used to. But the one saving grace here is that it does tend to rain quite a bit in the summer. So that rain definitely helps break up all the humidity. And sometimes when we get those higher temperatures, bring that temperature down to a very bearable, nice summer day. Now, don't get scared. I know it said it does rain a lot here in the summer, but it's usually quick, isolated, summer showers to where as though it rains very hard for maybe 20 minutes and then the rest of the day it's all sunshine and rainbows. So you definitely have enough sunny days here to get down to the beaches beaches or just go take a dip in the pool. So fall in Delaware tends to start about mid-September and into late November. Average temperatures usually range about 75 degrees in September and then start to, creep their way down when you get into November into the low to mid 50s. But one of the great things about the fall here in Delaware, it's some of our driest time of the year. We don't tend to get a lot of rain around in the fall. So because of the lack of rain and those milder temperatures, it's a great time to just get out in nature and go outdoors to relax, or maybe just explore and get out into nature. Especially with all the open spaces and the state parks, you couple that with, the autumn changing of the leaves and everything. Fall in Delaware tends to be a very beautiful time of the year. So a lot of people like to just get out and explore and just be in the outdoors. Or if you just like fall weather because that means you get to throw on your favorite flannel and then head to Starbucks and get that pumpkin spice latte, that's cool too. So overall, the Delaware weather is pretty typical of what you find on the East Coast. It's kind of a what you see is what you get type of thing. We have all 4 seasons here, and everything is pretty mild. I mean, we do get our occasional snowfall in the winter, and it gets pretty humid here in the summer, but other than that, it's a pretty typical, typical weather pattern. So now that you know all about the weather here in Delaware, maybe you have some other questions about Delaware. And if that's the case, I made another video discussing Delaware right here.